Okay.
All right, just give us the thumbs up when we're rolling. All right, we're going. All right, everyone. Oh, it's going to be one of those live streams. Gotcha.
Probably.
Yep. Welcome to Detox to Rehab Weekly Reflections, and joining me today are Corey, Connor, and Bianca. Thanks for joining, as always. And what we like to do each week, we like to take different readings from Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous and just share our insights on pretty much whatever we read. So our first reading is from Just for Today, from NA, and it's called Make That Call. We feared that if we ever revealed ourselves as we were, we would surely be rejected. But our fellow members do understand us. That's from Basic Text, page 31. We need our fellow NA members, their experience, their friendship, their laughter, their guidance, and much, much more. Yet many of us hesitate to call our sponsor or visit our NA friends. We don't want to impose on them. We think about phoning someone, but we don't feel worthy of their time. We fear that if they ever got to know us, really know us, they'd surely reject us. We forget that our fellow NA members are just like us. There's nothing we've done, no place we've been, no feeling we felt that other recovering addicts won't be able to identify with. The more we let others get to know us, the more we'll hear, you're in the right place, you're among friends, you belong, and welcome. We also forget that, just as we need others, they need us. We're not the only ones who want to feel like we belong, who want to experience the warmth of friendship, who want someone to share with. If we isolate ourselves from our fellow members, we deprive them of something they need, something only we can give them, our time, our company, our true selves. In Narcotics Anonymous, recovering addicts care for one another. What waits at the other end of the telephone is not rejection, but the love, warmth, and identification of the NA Fellowship. Make that call. So just for today, in NA, I am among friends. I will reach out to others, giving and receiving in fellowship. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, it says here that our live video is interrupted. That's interesting.
Back.
Oh, well, we're back? Sweet. All right. That didn't
That
take
was
long.
terrifying.
Yeah.
When I first got here, I was so used to like being alone and being isolated. You know, there were periods of like weeks at a time that I would go without hearing my own voice. Like I texted my guy, I picked up and I went back and I was by myself. I had no reason to talk and no one to talk to. So when I first got here, I was so used to that even though I was pretty sure I wasn't facing like ridicule or rejection or anything when I reached out to people or judgment, it was just unfamiliar, so I didn't want to. You know, that like just the fear of something unfamiliar. I know, right? And now on the other side of it, I'm guilty of like blowing off those phone calls. Because
yeah, that's messed up, dude.
well, but reasonable or not, I have this expectation of how my day is going to go, and I just expect everyone else to kind of follow along with that plan. And so when someone hits me up, no matter what it's for, you know, like they need someone's phone number, they're asking if I know where something is, or just it could be something as simple as that, or someone actually like reaching out for help, that interrupts my plan, that doesn't live up to my expectations, and I take that personally. And the thing is, it's not, and I owe it to the people who, like, you know, answered my phone calls in the middle of the night when I was losing my mind, to answer the phone for the people who hit me up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for the same things I was when I got here.
Right.
You know, and it's extremely selfish of me to not, like, leave my hand out when people reach out like that, you know.
Right. Wow, that's deep.
Not jokes, but also.
You don't want to. Oh, Connor.
So definitely when I first got into a 12-step program, such a strange point where you're like, I don't even know if I'm gonna stay here. I feel attacked by my own thoughts and feelings. I don't like anybody here, and I'm pretty sure they don't like me either. And I think the only reason that I stuck around is because people went so out of their way to help me. And I could genuinely tell that people were being honest with me and they wanted to help, and they've been through the things that they said they've been through and the same things that I've been through. And I needed that depth and weight in order to hear and understand what was going on with me, and that these people were telling the truth and they actually wanted to help.
Right.
Yeah.
And I needed that because, I did everything to convince myself that, maybe I don't belong here, this isn't, I'm not that bad, or that guy's
You guys are overreacting.
And it's just how my head works, especially when it's unchecked. I find any reason to separate myself from somebody else.
Right.
Right.
But it made it really easy to get involved and to start working steps when there's, hundreds of people around you that are encouraging you and asking you how you're doing, and there's always service available that you can do and help somebody else no matter how long you've been sober. It's just a community that is there for you. But yeah, on the other side, like Corey's talking about, I definitely get those times when I see the phone ring and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't wanna. But I pick it up and I answer it because I know that those same things that were happening when I was getting into the program, right? My head's telling me, nope, don't do it. I have to do it.
Right.
Because I have to keep doing those things to stay sober and to help other people and to give back what was given to me.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you guys, but when I go to meetings sometimes and people ask me to sponsor them, I'm just like, oh, I have so much stuff that I could be doing in that time.
Your chest gets tight.
Yeah, and you want to say no, but deep down, it's the best thing to say yeah. And it's just what you both were saying, that no matter how bad we don't want to do it, we have to. It's the 12th step, and if we want to stay sober, we have to do the things that are suggested of us. It says in the beginning of the book we read, that's what we need to do in order to stay sober. And I know if it wasn't for the people or my sponsor, I don't know if I would be here, because she took me through the steps and she taught me about my higher power, or helped me find one with the 3rd step prayer and everything like that. And I don't know if I would be here, and I wouldn't want to be that person that because it has happened before, where someone was reaching out to me and I was like, oh, this is just BS again, they're not going to get clean, and they end up overdosing. And it's living with that guilt and that shame of maybe there's one thing that I could have said that could have helped them type thing. So it's always best, just if someone's calling you, it's for a reason. Just pick up the phone, because people did it for us.
It's rewarding if you do it.
No, yeah, you feel so good too.
And you regret it if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Basically, I learned that the hard way. I still learn it the hard way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nobody's perfect. But I think it's really interesting that I'd say probably one of the most common lies that I've heard from other people in recovery is that they would tell themselves that they have to face addiction alone, that that's something that they have to take care of themselves. But really, I think it's always that recovery community that really kind of takes someone outside of their own head and their own rut and way of thinking. But I actually think there's that's where the element of honesty really comes in, because I know a couple weeks ago we were talking about how important it is to be honest in the recovery community too, because if you got someone who's trying to put up a false front in meetings, what does that say about someone who is looking to really share their more intimate thoughts and feelings, actually kind of show people who they really are?
Right.
I think that that's a really important factor there. What do you guys think?
Yes.
I mean, I think that you do have to do it alone. Like, I mean, not do it alone, but you have to do it for you and want it for yourself.
Right.
But you don't have to, like, sit there and be alone doing it, because it's like there's other people to help you. Like, just what you were saying, like, you can go to a meeting and you can be surrounded by people. Get out of your head. Go get coffee afterwards and make yourself uncomfortable. Like, do things you usually wouldn't do, because, like, when you isolate yourself, it's just going to bring back those old thoughts and old habits, and it's just nothing good comes out of it. Even if you don't use, you can just sit and be depressed about life, because I've done it before. I've just, people are going out and I'm like, oh no, I'd rather not do that. And then I go sit and I'm like, oh, well, that would have been fun. I should have did that. Like, and I'll be all down on myself. So it's
Gotcha.
best just to do it.
There's most of this work, like I have to do myself. No one's gonna do it for me. No one's gonna write my
Right.
inventory.
Right.
No one's gonna face my fears. But I don't have to do any of that alone.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you
And,
need a sponsor.
Hmm?
And you need a sponsor.
well, yeah, someone to
Mhm.
show me how to do what I
Right.
need to do.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's actually kind of funny, Bianca, what you were talking about with, you know, that start has to come from you. You know, change comes from within. It's not just going to be because you can be around other people. Because our next reading is all about hitting rock bottom. So from Daily Reflections from AA, it's called Hitting Bottom. Why all this insistence that every AA must hit bottom first? The answer is that few people will sincerely try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. For practicing AA's remaining 11 steps means the adoption of attitudes and actions that almost no alcoholic who is still drinking can dream of taking. And that's from 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 24. Hitting bottom opened my mind, and I became willing to try something different. What I tried was AA. A new life in the fellowship was a little like learning how to ride a bike for the first time. AA became my training wheels and my supporting hand. It's not that I wanted to help so much at the time, I simply did not want to hurt like that again. My desire to avoid hitting bottom again was more powerful than my desire to drink. In the beginning, that was what kept me sober. But after a while, I found myself working the steps to the best of my ability. Soon I realized that my attitudes and actions were changing, if ever so slightly. One day at a time, I became comfortable with myself, and others, and my hurting started to heal. Thank God for the training wheels and supporting hand that I chose to call Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, I think that actually kind of ties in pretty well about that moment of genuine honesty where something really has to change.
Yeah, I know for me, I was at my bottom for a really, really long time. I stayed there. I didn't immediately go to AA, but I knew it was there. And that's what mattered, is even though I hit my bottom and I like kept going to meetings and I just wasn't ready to get clean and sober, I knew it was there. And that's kind of what brought me back to it when I finally knew I was ready. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew it was there, and that's all I really needed. Like, even though I wasn't ready in the beginning, and then, like, I don't know, I'm repeating myself now, but yeah.
Oh, I think that's good.
I'm kind of tired of the phrase bottom or hitting bottom, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
Interesting.
I think what it's like trying to convey, at least what I think at this moment, because what I think always changes, especially the longer I've been sober. But right now, I just think that you have to understand to your, like, inside you that I'm powerless and my life is unmanageable. I can't manage my life and I can't control my drug use. I mean, whatever is going on the outside doesn't really matter.
Right.
And you talked about internal bottoms before, and I think it's more of that kind of thing, because bottom looks so different for
So many
different
people.
you know.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I don't really like that term because I spent 10 years just constantly lowering the bar of what I considered the bottom. You know, at first it was when I got kicked out of my parents' house. Then it was when I got kicked out of my apartment. Then it was when I started getting in legal trouble. Then it was, you know, and it just goes on and on and on like that until eventually, like you, I had been there for a minute. Just emotionally bankrupt, like everything material in my life gone, just kind of existing. And I was pretty okay with that.
Right.
And I don't know what that change was when I realized, like, there's nothing I can do about this. Like, I'm going to need help. I don't know how that came about. To the best of my understanding, that was the day I got lucky enough to kind of see myself for what I was and how I was in the world. And a problem I've noticed through talking to some people who've been sober much longer than I have and have been around for more of this is it's really easy to forget not how it felt right before I got here, but how it felt right after I got here. You know, that first couple of days of I'm not getting high anymore and just a bundle of raw nerves, like everything is destroyed, I'm never going to fix this, I'm so beaten and broken and I need help and this is the best thing I've got, I have to do this. Because there's this sense, you know, that in a very general way that I've noticed in 12-step fellowships, that if I relapse, I can always come back. You know, like I don't have to put that much into this. Like if I go get high, like I can come back. And the fact is, we don't always get to come back.
Right.
You know, and the more I can remind myself of what that felt like, you know, I don't have a better word for it. So that bottom, just that ripped apart, destroyed life that I had when I first came into 12-step fellowships, the more likely it is I'll keep doing the work in this with that same fervor, you know?
Right.
Get better about answering the phone when people reach out to me like we were talking about before. You know, keeping an eye on inventories, watching out for the various character defects that I have. Because as soon as I forget what that was like, I forget how important this work is and I stop doing it. You know, and I definitely have another relapse in me. I don't know if I have another recovery in me. You know.
Interesting.
That's deep.
That's really deep.
I was gonna say something. No, I'm just gonna no. No.
Can't top that.
No, can't top that.
But
That's it. That's all you get. I'm done.
yeah, I mean, it really kind of like ties into you know, a lot of the spirituality and recovery. You know, once again, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about spiritual awakenings that you find in the recovery process, and you know what many might interpret as hitting bottom. It kind of ties along the lines of, you know, the crisis before revelation. You know, it's to that point where you've kind of reached the end of your rope and you don't know what to do, so you begin reaching out to something greater than yourself for the answer. Yeah, I feel like that's really what that really symbolizes with, you know, hitting bottom, where it's just like you can't go any further. Like you said, when your life is just completely torn to bits, you know, you have that understanding that you are powerless against addiction.
Yeah, I know that, like, I had to feel it on the inside, because as I was saying, like, my bottom was just, I was as low as I could get before I would go to death, like, before I died. Like, I was just that low. And I know that, like, what it said in here, I just didn't want to feel like that anymore. Like, and what you were saying, like, when I first came in the rooms, and it's like, do I want to keep feeling this? Do I want to keep going over this over and over again? Like, come in the rooms, leave, come in the rooms and leave. Like, I don't want to keep living this vicious cycle anymore. And it's just time to do something about it. And the only thing that I could and knew what to do about it was actually do what's suggested to me and work the steps and find a higher power and go to meetings regularly and do what's told to me and work with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really good. I think that's probably a good note to end it on, huh?
Cool.
Right on.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with more reflections.